A man dreams of himself floating high above the sky. Each time he remembers it, he feels both free and strangely unsettled. To his friend, it's just a silly dream, but to a psychoanalyst, it's a hidden message, a symbol of his unspoken desire for freedom and the invisible chains holding him down. This way of looking at dreams and the human mind itself was pioneered by one of the most controversial figures in psychology, Sigmund Freud. Today, we're diving into the story of Freud, the man who dared to explore the dark, unspoken corners of the human mind, a thinker who revolutionized psychology, got accused of being unscientific, and yet left behind a legacy that still shapes therapy, art, and culture worldwide. Freud was born in 1856 in Vienna, Austria. He was endlessly curious, interested in literature, philosophy, biology. At first, he worked in neuroscience, studying the human brain. But it was in the hospital, treating strange patients, that his life took a sharp turn. Some of his patients would suddenly go blind, lose their voice, or become paralyzed, yet doctors could find nothing wrong with their bodies. Were they faking? That's what most people thought. But Freud didn't buy it. He believed their symptoms came from hidden psychological conflicts buried deep inside. Freud experimented with hypnosis and later encouraged patients to freely talk about childhood memories. What happened shocked the medical world. Patients who had been paralyzed for months suddenly walked again. People who couldn't speak found their voices. Freud concluded that inside all of us, there are hidden desires, memories, and conflicts shaping our lives whether we realize it or not. He called this place the unconscious mind. Freud's theories were bold, sometimes shocking. He believed the human mind had three layers: the conscious, what we're aware of; the preconscious, memories we can recall when needed; and the unconscious, the deep hidden layer influencing our behavior in ways we don't even see. He also introduced the idea of the ID, ego and superego, the constant battle between our primal desires, our rational self, and our moral compass. He explained slips of the tongue, strange dreams, and even nervous tics as signs of our unconscious breaking through. And when life gets tough, our mind creates defense mechanisms: denial, repression, rationalization, little tricks to protect us from pain. But here's the thing. Freud's theories weren't just groundbreaking, they were scandalous. He talked openly about childhood sexuality, repressed desires, and even the Oedipus complex ideas that shocked conservative 19th century Europe. Many scientists said his theories weren't real science because they couldn't be proven with experiments. Some called him a fraud. His books were even burned. And yet, Freud never stopped writing, never stopped challenging. Despite heavy criticism, Freud's work didn't fade away, sparked an entire revolution, not just in psychology, but in the way humans understood themselves. His students' brilliant minds like Carl Jung and Alfred Adler eventually broke away and built their own schools of thought. Jung turned toward dreams, symbols, and spirituality. Adler focused on self-improvement and overcoming feelings of inferiority. But no matter how far they wandered, they all started by walking through a door that Freud had first opened. And Freud's influence didn't stop at therapy rooms or psychology textbooks. It spilled over into literature, film, art, and pop culture. Writers like Franz Kafka, Virginia Woolf, and James Joyce explored the unconscious mind in their novels. Filmmakers from Alfred Hitchcock to David Lynch built entire masterpieces around Freudian themes of desire, repression, and hidden fears. Think of movies like Inception, where dreams unlock deeper truths, or Fight Club, with its battles between the ID, ego, and superego. Even Disney's The Lion King with Simba, haunted by his father's ghost ticos, traces of Freud's ideas about childhood, guilt, and destiny. Freud is everywhere. Every time a character wrestles with inner demons, every time a dream reveals a secret, every time a story explores forbidden desires, whether we notice it or not, we're seeing the fingerprints of Sigmund Freud. In his final years, Freud was no stranger to pain. He was diagnosed with a severe cancer of the jaw disease that forced him to undergo more than 30 brutal surgeries. Doctors replaced parts of his mouth with prosthetics, making it painful, even to eat or speak. And yet, despite the constant suffering, Freud refused to stop. He kept writing. He kept debating. He kept challenging the world to look deeper into the human mind. But as Europe plunged into darkness under Nazi rule, Freud's own life was threatened. Being Jewish in Austria during Hitler's rise meant almost certain death. In 1938, the Nazis stormed Vienna. Freud's sisters were sent to concentration camps. His books had already been burned in public squares at 82 years old. Freud made a heartbreaking decision. He fled his beloved Vienna, the city where he had lived and worked for nearly half a century. The help of friends and the international scientific community, he escaped to London. There, in exile, weak from illness, he continued to write until his final days. On September 23, 1939, Sigmund Freud passed away just weeks after the outbreak of World War II. He was 83 years old. Today, Freud's old home in Vienna stands as the Sigmund Freud Museum. The rooms where he once welcomed patients, studied dreams, and scribbled his radical theories are carefully preserved. His famous couch, the one where countless patients poured out their unconscious secrets, remains a symbol of modern therapy, walking. Through that house, you can almost feel his presence, the intensity of his ideas, the weight of his struggles, and the unshakable determination of a man who, despite pain, war, and exile, never gave up exploring the human mind. So was Freud a brilliant pioneer, or just a dreamer chasing shadows? Maybe both. But what's certain is this: he forever changed the way we see ourselves. He showed us that behind every slip of the tongue, every strange dream, every unspoken desire, lies a hidden truth waiting to be uncovered. And perhaps that's why, more than a century later, the world is still whispering his name.